Cris, is there any reason to doubt the Warriors can take it into another game?
None whatsoever. And, look, we can complain about the bench a little bit. Andre Iguodala's three-point shooting has been horrific this season. They're going to rely on young players, McCaw, maybe Jordan Bell, to contribute this year. But this is all about the starting five. And the starting five is going to play 35, 40 minutes every single night. And the starting five is still the best starting five in all of basketball, and it's not even close. I understand the Currys, the Thompsons, the Greens kind of going through the motions in a season like this. Even Durant, having already won his championship, going through the motions in the first half of the season. I said this to you guys the other day, and I stand by it. I would be astonished if this team didn't go into the playoffs winners of 10 out of 11, 14 out of 15, 19 out of 20, something like that, because now that we're into the final third of the season, they're going to step on the gas, and they're going to start rolling people.
Well, that will make me, if they do that, that'll get them the 1 seed almost assuredly. Yeah. If they are able to, because they need to hit at least a slightly higher gear before the playoffs, because the 1 seed matters. I'm not saying you can't make if they don't get the 1 seed, they have no shot, but the 1 seed matters. It matters in avoiding whomever the 3 seed is in round 2, and it matters in home court advantage for the Western Conference Finals. So if they do that, then I will buy into what you're saying. But I don't have evidence that this team's better than last year's team or the year before. Now, you could be worse than last year's team and still be the favorite to win the title. But it seems like the general discussion surrounding this team is they ran through the league last year. They're the same team. These guys are in the primes of their career. It's not like Durant's getting worse, Steph's getting worse. So they're fine. I just haven't seen it. Maybe it is lethargy, or maybe it is the accumulation of 3 consecutive 100-game seasons on everyone except for KD, and that's catching up to them a little bit.
They are 44 and 14. Oh, okay. I mean, they're not 30 and 24 or anything like that, right?
No.
I mean, they still are the second best record in the NBA.
Yes.
To me, I like the attitude, and I like it. It came over a week ago when Steve Kerr said, right now, we're not playing our best. We need a little wake-up call. Those things are reality. And when you've had the extended seasons that they've had, when you've been under the spotlight night after night, it's hard to keep a team like this that has predominantly stayed together outside of a couple people, KD and a couple other guys. Like, they've been in a window that it's hard. It's suffocating. We've seen other teams. We've seen LeBron and the Cavs. They take some time off. They took all last season off and geared it up for the playoffs. Like, they gave Boston the #1 seed. We didn't have a problem with that. With the success that they've had over a long period of time, I believe that their attitudes are in the right place, because Steve Kerr, he was a realist. Man, we need to wake up for this stretch drive. The technical fouls is something that I want to watch. The defensive efficiency. Are they going to be a top 3 team? Because if they are a top 3 team defensively, we know what they're going to do offensively. So they are going to be hard to beat. So I think that the Warriors, like you said, they're going to go on a run. They are going to be hard to deal with. And the next 20 games, I believe they'll win 17 of 20, 16 of 20.
I'm just curious, how do you reconcile your blind loyalty that the Cavs would turn it on to another gear with your questions about the Warriors?
Well, the Cavs have the greatest player of all time, so that helps. But the Cavs also don't have to go through the Rockets. Like, the Rockets, to me, are a very legitimate title threat. There is no one in the East that, to me, is a legitimate title threat. Like, the Rockets, I think, have 2 very special players and a great complement of players. What were you about to say, CC? You look like you wanted to jump in there.
No, I just would like for you to level it, because I just believe it's disproportionate. Like, because we make excuses for Cleveland. LeBron, forget about how good he is. Golden State has more good players that have proven themselves under the gun. LeBron, Kevin Love, they got one player right now, Cleveland, that's proven himself.
Hold on a second. I do think that we have to, much like we did with the Patriots late in the year, and remind people about what the expectations were coming into the season. The Cavs and Warriors have had different levels of expectations coming into the year, and I'm evaluating them as such. The Warriors were drastic favorites against the field. If the question were, do you think the Warriors can make the Western Conference Finals? Of course. Do you think the Warriors are going to make the NBA Finals? Probably. Are the Warriors going to win the championship? Well, they're definitely the favorite. But the question, I thought going into this year, the idea was, are the Warriors unbeatable?
Right.
Are we about to enter an era where the Warriors just rip off Van Gundy? One of my favorite analysts said, well, they're going to win the next 5, like, unless barring injury. So when I look at them and I'm saying, oh, okay, the last 3 years prior to this year, they have been in first place every single day of December, January, February, March, April. We are now at the All-Star break. They're not in first place. They have the worst defense they've had over the last 4 years. Like, there are reasons.
They're only a half game out of first place, so it's not as if they're 10 games behind.
No, that's correct.
I mean, so it's not as if they're not far from that.
But it's not. But in the years past, it's not like they were a half game in first place. They were, except for the one year with San Antonio.
I mean, that's a record-breaking pace. We knew that they couldn't continue that, and that's not one of their goals. They already broke the NBA record, and that didn't get them a championship.
There's clearly a lethargy going on within Golden State right now, but I believe that's going to evaporate over the final third of the season. Now, you bring up Houston. Houston, you have to buy into their defensive identity. They can score as many points as they want. Unless they make stops at a top 10 defensive level, they're not beating Golden State. They might not beat Oklahoma City to face them in the second round. You have to buy into the Luke Mbah-a-Moutes and the Clint Capellas and these guys that haven't proven anything in the postseason, stepping up and playing at a high level against Golden State. We know that the Warriors have another gear. Whether they hit it or not, we could debate that. We know the Warriors have another gear. We don't know, outside of Harden, and, well, I mean, Chris Paul tells them been to a conference finals. We don't know that this group in Houston has another gear.
What will take to get to that gear? Is that Kerr? Is it his creativity? Is he needing to do different things? Or do you think that they just naturally, it's the time of the season, and they'll start to run with it?
I don't think it's rocket science with them. I understand that Steve's been public with his concerns. I think he wants his guys hearing this comment. I think he wants them reading what he's saying. But this is a team, this is not a team of older players, at least not in the starting lineup. It's a bunch of 20-somethings, early 30s types of guys who have been there, done that before, who are still motivated to be great. They're not motivated by February games against Phoenix. They're not motivated by games against, Brooklyn. They're not motivated by these bad teams.
But they're motivated against the Thunder and the Rockets, and the 5 games they played this year against these teams, I think they're 1-4. Like, the games where they have been motivated, they have had some struggles in it, which just show some
San Antonio waxed them
vulnerability.
last year in the regular season, too.
I think it's important. I think it's important they're backup players. You mentioned their starting 5 being, yes, but they're not going to play the whole game. Iguodala is struggling from three-point range, and the more he struggles, the harder it is having him on the court to be a defensive stopper, because he don't have the legs that he had before. So for me, that's a problem. Sean Livingston, with his mismatch and stabilizing that second unit and giving them a push, those are going to be problems if those guys don't stabilize. I believe their starters will play well.
The Iguodala number is the big one there. He's been a 35+% three-point shooter for the last 3 years. He has to be well above 30 to be effective in the postseason.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.